Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dead Barbecue, and today we are doing the unboxing and setup and first burn of the Kamado Joe Big Joe. Now, I was pretty excited when Kamado Joe reached out and told me that they were going to send this to me, but don't worry, I want you to know that I handled this like a complete professional.
That's not true. Roll the tape.
Ugh, witnesses. Anyways, I want to start off this video with a big thank you to you guys. It's you watching, liking, commenting, and most importantly subscribing to videos that made this dream even a remote possibility. So thank you so much for continuing to engage with the channel. I really appreciate it because I've had my eye on this grill for a long time. Now, to just share a little bit more detail about my relationship with Kamado Joe so you have full transparency as to how this got here, it came with no strings attached. I don't work for Kamado Joe, not being paid to make this video, and I don't get any commission tied to the sale of any Kamado Joe products. It's just a free grill in my backyard to join the ones that I already have. I have a personal order in for a Kamado Joe Classic 3 that I'm hoping to get later in August, and I'm sure many of you right now are experiencing some of that demand and back order situation. So I'm right along with you, also as a consumer. I just wanted to be open and transparent about that so you knew exactly where this grill came from. But let's push that aside and get to unboxing this, and in the future doing some amazing cooks. I really hope you subscribe if you haven't already, because I've got some great plans in store to take advantage of the extra space on the Kamado Joe Big Joe. Let's get unboxing. Today you're joining me for a dream come true. We are unboxing a Big Joe 3. So I'll take you fast forward and I'll rejoin you at key moments just to explain everything that we want to do. First, we're going to go ahead and want to get ourselves a pair of scissors, and we're going to remove this outer wrap, set aside our accessories, and remove some of those outer layers of cardboard. So I'll take you fast forward and I'll rejoin you in a minute when there's something to show you. All right, so that's only about 90 seconds of work. The real challenge is yet to come. Let's go ahead and remove our cart. We'll set that aside, and then we'll get this outer layer off so we can take a look at our Big Joe. The next thing we're gonna do is open it up and remove our components, our inner ceramic firebox, and our grid and our slow roller, etc. Set them aside in a safe space so we can focus on getting this out and setting up our cart. All right, so that's only about another 90 seconds of work. So what we have in the styrofoam over here should be our deflector plates and maybe even the slow roller. We'll find out in a second. We've got our Big Joe, our ash tool I can see there, maybe our grids, our side shelves for our cart are actually in here. We'll have our internal components like our charcoal basket and the multi-piece firebox. So let's go ahead and start getting all these things out into a safe spot, and then we'll be ready to assemble our cart. All right, so now that we have all of our ceramic components out, and you saw in fast forward, I got the slow roller out of the styrofoam and just set aside on the table. I've left our ceramics up on the deck. We don't want to go ahead and install these now because we still have to lift this into the cart, and I also want to lift it up onto the deck. So just to keep it as light as possible, that's really important. I'll bring the camera a little closer when it's time to lift it, but there's two areas that are safe to hold on to for lifting your Kamado Joe. And this is the same whether it's a Classic 2, Classic 3, Big Joe, no matter what it is you're moving. You're gonna want to, one, get a grip under here and be able to lift. And the other thing that you want to do is lift on the back hinge. I'll point that out when you can actually see it. What you don't want to do is lift from the side handles, because these are just handles that are screwed into the band, not the actual support band itself. Nor do you want to rely on your front handle here, which is using the latch mechanism, but this shipping weight, I don't know what the actual weight of the Joe is, but the shipping weight for all of this was 500 pounds. We do not want to put that kind of stress on the handle and the latch, because if that were to open, it could cause you to stumble, fall, hurt yourself, or even damage your Joe. So I'll show you again when it gets time to actually lift it. The two safe lift points are the front latch or the front air vent and the back of the airlift hinge. So let's get our cart set up, install the wheels, and we'll be ready to put the cart up there. And then it's almost time for me to phone a friend and get some help lifting the Big Joe into place. Okay, so when you get to your wheels, you will have two wheels. One without a brake on it and one with a brake. We're gonna want to screw the ones with the brake accessible where we plan to have the front of our Kamado Joe facing. So you can just quickly clip those. Okay, so far we are now 10 minutes in since we got started to get to this point, and I am almost at the spot where I can't go much further on my own. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna clean up all the packaging materials that we don't need, start setting those aside. I'm going to unclip the zip ties on our divide and conquer system, so that'll be ready for me to go and install when that's time, and open up our remaining boxes with our side shelves so I can add those to our Kamado Joe Big Joe 3 when we've got it in the cart and we want to go ahead and add our shelves. Now there's one thing I heard about this Big Joe is that it comes with some very special accessories inside. What's in there?
Oh, hi!
What? All right, so we've got our Big Joe in position. It is time to set it up. So I had two neighbors that were able to help me, and it was not as bad as I thought. So we did exactly like I mentioned our strategy. Had a neighbor go on each side, hold under the back, and I just reached in down through the front here and lifted. And with three people, it's actually pretty light work to get it in our stand. So I've just slid it into spot, and as you can see, I have some work to do to replace our grill studio table. But I want to get a feel for this Joe, find out where I like it and how I like to work around it before designing the table. So that's going to be my summer project. But enough about that project, let's finish this one. I'll bring you a little bit closer as we assemble everything. So a quick recap, we're going to start by inserting our firebox in the bottom, and I'm going to aim and center that piece so it lines up with the front draft door. Then we're going to install our pedestals of the firebox, and I'm going to show you a little trick that'll just make this so much easier to get our ring on top of that. We'll go ahead and add our charcoal basket and then our divide and conquer rack, and we're going to be ready for a break-in burn. Now if you read the online instructions from Kamado Joe, it's no longer required that you do a break-in burn. So this is not baked in warranty, it's just personal preference. On some of the earlier generation Joes, Series 1 and Series 2, before you had this gasket, you had the mesh gasket, the break-in burn was really designed to do two things, just to burn out any of that styrofoam packing material that might have been stuck somewhere inside the grill, as well as that 24 hours after you shut it off and you don't open it, just really helped seal that gasket. Even on the Series 2, the break-in burn was still recommended because the new gasket was adhering directly to the ceramic and you wanted a really good seal. With the Series 3 Kamado Joes, so when I ordered my Class 6 last year, and again you see it on the Big Joe here, there's some felt on the ceramic and then our gasket which adheres. And I haven't seen any reports, and I've personally not had any problems with that coming unglued. So this is maybe just old habits dying hard, but I still like to do it just to clean everything out. And honestly, it's gonna be fun, I wanna play with it. And if it does anything long run, I can say, ha, I'm glad I did that break-in burn. Anyways, let's get our pieces assembled. I'll bring you close so you can see what's going on, and I'll take you fast forward and rejoin you when it's time to fire it up. Okay, so for this first piece, Kamado Joe will have the instructions install the bottom of the ash collector tool. It's a great innovation, but I personally like to just leave it out. And the reason is, once you install those wings, which catch 99% of the ash, 1% or so gets in behind and underneath. And what that does over time is it just slowly builds up and could potentially, block your airflow. And then to clean it, you need to pull everything out. So this method will definitely make it more work than the way that Kamado Joe designed this to work in collecting ash every single day. but every 6 months or so, it makes it a little bit less work in terms of removing everything. So this is a matter of personal preference. It's a great system. You're not gonna go wrong using it. This is just my personal preference. I like scooping it out and getting all that ash every single time. So what I'm gonna do now is just look through the bottom draft door and make sure that we've got the air aligned so it's non-obstructed going right into our Kamado Joe Big Joe. That looks good to me. And so what we're gonna do now is we're just going to slide in our ash pan and just make sure it's not obstructed as it goes in and out. So we just wanna make sure that this slides in without hitting anything. That's great. So let's go ahead and place our pedestals of the firebox in position. I like to place the very first pedestal right against the front draft door. If we set it up so that there was a seam right on that draft door, just potential you get some different airflow irregularities. And so just to help improve airflow, I like a nice flat solid surface of the firebox in the very first position, just so that there's not any additional variables. Just a little trick I found helps make your Joe run flawlessly later on when we're doing some low slow cooks. I'll go back to fast forward as we add all the other pedestals. Okay, so now I'm going to use either the paper towel, toilet paper, whatever you have, accessible trick. We're just going to take a little bit of toilet paper, make a ball. I prefer to use the toilet paper as it burns up easier. And then what we're going to do is just pull out our pedestal, go in behind, and push that down. And we'll add a few more to the point where these will hold and support themselves away from the base of our Kamado Joe Big Joe. Go fast forward for the rest. Okay, so we're going to orient the top of our firebox so that these notches for the divide and conquer sit on a northeast southwest position. So that's what makes that little toilet paper ball trick so handy, is it gets almost all of the firebox in the exact right position so that this just sinks right down and it's not sticking up. And I only have to use my fingers to pull maybe the front one or two into position. So I'm just going to make sure I'm happy with the firebox, that there's equal air gap distance all the way around, and then we'll be ready to install the rest of the components. Okay, so now we're going to install our charcoal basket. And these little notches, if you haven't seen them, is what our divide and conquer rack system is going to slide into, and we can actually lift this all out as one piece. Next, I'm going to go look for our charcoal basket divider. Okay, so this is our charcoal basket divider, and it's just going to slide into these grooves in our charcoal basket. We can install it one of two ways. So we can do a front and back zone, or we can do a side to side zone. I'm going to go in the front to back position today. Okay, now we're ready to install our divide and conquer rack system. So we're just going to go so we're not hitting those notches, and then rotate underneath them. Those are now locked in position so that we can lift everything out as one complete unit if we like. And it also helps with just setting everything back down and make sure that's lined up. Next, I'm going to install the X-ring accessory, and today I'm just going to use our heat deflector shields as part of our break-in burn in the open position. Here's our X accessory ring. Look for the two circles and align them up where you find the grooves on your divide and conquer rack. Okay, these are our heat deflector shields. We can install these in a couple of positions. We could have put this right on the very bottom of our divide and conquer rack, or we could have gone for the middle of our 3-tier system. I'm gonna go for the middle today. I mentioned earlier, I'm going to actually leave them in an open setting so that the heat has no problem escaping. We're not going to set up for an indirect cook. Now I'm going to go ahead and add our cooking grids. Okay, we've got our cooking grids. I'm going to install those against the notch like this so that they can't slide out of place. If you were to install them the other way, which you might, totally works, it is possible that can rotate off. So if you were cleaning your grates or you had some food, you don't want to have an accident where you're working with a live fire. So if you don't already know, go ahead and install the grates against those notches. Okay, now we're going to install our metal side shelves, and we want to look for the Kamado Joe logo, which should be facing us when it's in up position. So there it is right there. So this one's going to go on the left. We're just going to hang this down into the grooves. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and install our Kontrol Tower top, just like this. Looks good. All right, and last but not least, we're going to install our slow roller on the space provided in the bottom of the Kamado Joe Big Joe 3 cart. This is one of my favorite accessories. If you're between a Series 2 Classic or a Series 2 Big Joe and the Series 3, I'm gonna put a link down below to an Engadget article they did on how a Harvard science class designed better barbecue. I'm not a scientist, I can't validate what they're saying scientifically. I can say from owning 2 Classic 3s, it makes a world of difference, and I absolutely love it for so many cooks. So let's get this into position on the bottom of our Big Joe 3 cart. All right, that's it. We're ready to fire it up. Let's go ahead and pull those grid accessories that we just installed aside so we can add some charcoal. Okay, we're just gonna let this come up to about 400 degrees. Let it run for about 30-45 minutes. We're gonna shut our bottom vent first, our top vent completely, and just let this sit overnight. Again, not mandatory, it's just how I love to do a new grill when I get it, or encourage a friend, a neighbor, or any one of you if you get yours. It's just been something that's never caused any problems, and that just helps that gasket seal, burn off any of that styrofoam. And some of those paper towel pieces that we put in behind our fire ring when we used some toilet paper to hold them into position. So that fire will help burn those up. Anyways, I hope you really enjoyed today's video. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe to catch future videos. But what I really want to know in the comments, what's the first thing that we should cook on this bad boy? Let me know how you think we break this in the proper way with something massive. Take advantage of all that real estate. Anyways, look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. I'll see you then.